You all right there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
He's got his notes.
I got my notes.
Your screen keeps on going back and forth. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bacon is My Podcast, where Jimmy's note screen just kind of grows and shrinks at will.
At will. We do all kinds of things.
Technology. Wah wee wah.
Yeah, man.
Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon! Bacon is my... Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my...
That kind of... Bacon is My Podcast is brought to you today by poddex.com, Wild Bills, drinkwildbills.com, grillyourassoff.com. All those, you can get 10% off your entire order by using the promo code BACON.
Because everything is better with bacon.
Literally.
Literally everything. Literally. Another sponsor of ours is also Manscaped.com, where you can keep your marble shiny. You can save the balls. You can just make a difference. Feel clean. Feel confident. And use that promo code BACONPOD to get 20% off.
20%.
And free shipping. What's up, Jay?
Yeah! What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm here. Hanging out with you. It's always a pleasure. It's a great evening of talking and whiskey and just getting know a little bit more about the world.
Indeed. Now, a number of our listeners probably don't know. They probably, for some reason, think that we just kind of have these connections with the bands that we have.
We just cultivate them on our own,
right? Yeah, like we just know about these bands, and honestly,
we're not nearly that good.
No, nowhere near it.
No.
Hashtag professional. So what you might not know is that we work with several PR agencies. Now, PR.
What does PR mean?
What is that?
Jimsy?
Public relations,
Indeed.
Which is basically a company where you find a person that is going to be your liaison to
public
marketing.
To the public.
Indeed. Bringing your stuff out in front of people that are going to review it, look at it, listen to it, check it out, all those kinds of things. Any entertainment field, you need some kind of PR agent, and this is no different. And we've both worked with them in the past in our bands, and we took a shot at it early on into the podcast career once we started doing interviews.
Indeed.
Right?
So what's funny is our relationship with our guest started out, and we talked about it on the episode, was I wanted one band to be on the show, and I was like, that's a PR agency.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Maybe that's where I need to start headed.
That's how I can connect. Yeah.
That's how I can connect with these people. So I reached out, and she said, "Hey, listen, we're not doing any interviews at the moment, and I don't know if we're going to be repping them anymore. And appreciate you reaching out." And a lot of people would have taken that
as a door closing.
Indeed.
Not this guy.
No.
Not this guy right here. This guy used his testicular fortitude.
No.
Or his mental aptitude?
No, I don't know about that
His
either.
questioning nature?
Sure.
His inquisitiveness?
Yeah. And I said, hey, listen, I totally get it, but if you've got other artists, we'd love to work with them too.
Who else you got?
And then she came to us with a band called Felicity.
Yeah.
That you've seen on the show several times.
Who we love.
We love them. Action Adventure. Not so long ago, we had Telltale. We had Glacier Veins. So today we've got Becky.
Yeah. She is
Becky Kovach.
She's our partner.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess
she's our buddy.
She's our buddy. She feeds us the good bands that we feed you.
Right. We thought it would be fun to have a conversation with her, because not only do we know that we have a lot of our musician friends that listen to the show, and a lot of musicians in general that check out the show, or even that are on the show and then continue listening later, that could benefit from a lot of this information.
Absolutely.
But we also know that we have people on the show that are fans of music that are looking for a way to get into the music industry somehow. And PR might be a doorway in. If you're someone that enjoys writing, if you're someone that's into journalism, if you're into reviewing, if you're a person that can deal and super organized, it can deal with emailing and pitching and all that kind of stuff, maybe it's something you'd be into.
Maybe it's a path.
And so we wanted to kind of have someone on that we could talk to that's been doing it for 10 years, that's super cool, that is a music fan, that started out as a writing reviews and like a journalist, and it's just super cool to talk to her and hopefully get some good information for you guys. And for those of you that are interested in none of those things, it's just another fun conversation on Beckys, my podcast.
Absolutely. And we don't just talk about the PR thing. I
No.
mean, like for us, it was really cool to like finally. We've been working with her for a little over a year, and you know,
It's our first
cool
face-to-face.
first face to face,
Yeah.
and you know, we talk about in the episode we're gonna have our first actual IRL.
Human interaction.
IRL is like a hot button thing now.
Yeah.
In real life, that
Yep.
means. Did you know that?
I did know that.
I didn't know that until I looked it up on the interwebs.
Really? That's been a thing for a while.
I don't know. But yeah, so Becky, we get to finally talk to her in IRL, face to face, and we're gonna hang out with her. So yeah, we that's what's happening. So let's
And Bane's in the room.
and Bane's in the room all
We've
of
got a
sudden.
dog in the room.
So let's go ahead and do that right now.
Now.
No.
Now.
Now.
Now. Now.
Now.
Now.
Now. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick time out. We want to tell you all about our awesome sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped.com. We've been telling you about them since the beginning of the year. We've been users for years. But now they've put out the new Ultra Premium Collection. And what the Ultra Premium Collection includes is a 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner, a body wash, a hydrating body spray, deodorant, and lip balm. And what you do is you go to the shopping cart.
Yep.
You put all your things in there.
Yep.
And when you're done, you use the promo code BACONPOD, and you get 20% off and free shipping.
I'm going to stop for 1 second, and I'm just going to let you guys know that I've actually been using this stuff for the last 2 weeks. I got my order 2 weeks ago, and I've been using it every day. And so I'm just going to give you a super fast review. The shampoo conditioner is awesome. My hair feels great. It doesn't feel dry. It's not loaded down. It's not weighted down. And it actually feels really good. The body wash is awesome. It lathers up really great. I use a very little bit of it. I'm kind of like a sponge guy, so I'll put it on the sponge, loofah, or whatever you want to call it. And it's awesome. The surprise for me has been the body spray. It's really awesome. I never used anything like that before. I got it and I was like, what's this gonna do? I'll tell you what, as a person with tattoos, man, my arms feel dry every now and then. And sometimes for you that have tattoos, you understand that like when it gets dry, you start to feel like a raised up area for where your tattoo was. This actually, it smells great and it feels great and it keeps you hydrated. My hands, my arms, my tattoos, that's what I've really used it on. I haven't done the whole body or anything like that. I do use all the other products. I use the crop preserver. I use the foot spray at night. I don't use it during the day because it
The
might
Reviver
leave your
as
feet
well
wet.
for a midday spritz.
Yeah, 100%.
That is not included in this, but
The wipes are key.
you can
all
use.
that stuff.
Oh, here we go. We got the wipes too.
Yep.
You can use all this stuff, and you can get 20% off on all of these things. And of course, their flagship Lawnmower 4.0, which I was skeptical. I had the 3.0. They gave us a 4.0. I was like, how much better could it be?
It's better.
It's way better.
I've nicked my sack on the
0
3.0.
times.
And I've nicked my sack 0 times on the 4.0.
Right. So go ahead, go to manscaped.com, use the promo code BACONPOD, get 20% off, get free shipping, and support a really awesome brand that we believe in, and support the show a little bit.
It's really good, guys. I don't care. If it's not good, I'd tell you, because I don't care.
Right. So
it doesn't matter to me. But honestly, like, I'd use this stuff whether we had a discount or not. And I use our promo discount because that's what we have. So have the same discount that we do.
Indeed.
And go over to manscaped.com and use BaconPod as your discount.
Today, we've got senior publicist at Big Picture Media, someone who has introduced us to quite a few of our guests on this show, somebody who I would like to definitely attribute some of our success to, because like she's given us a shot with some of her talent and stuff like that. Ladies and gentlemen, Becky from Big Picture Media, what's going on?
Woo! Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going good.
It's good. It's good. I mean, so we've been working together for like a year and a half almost.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so like the first thing I definitely wanted to ask you, because the way that I reached out to you and figured out how to reach you was I tried to book Icon for Hire on the show, and at that point you guys were no longer representing them, and you sent an email back to me saying that you weren't blah 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 blah, and like something clicked in me, and I was like, so they don't represent them anymore, but they definitely represent other people because they have a job,
right?
So I sent something back to you and whatever. But when you get an email from a show with the title "Bacon is my podcast," what was the first thing you thought of? Because me personally, like thinking back about it now, I'm like, she probably was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, that was probably a little bit of my initial reaction, but more in like I'm an intrigued kind of way. Just because it is something that is so like out there as far as podcast names go, that I was like, oh, what could this possibly be about? So of course I checked out some of what you guys had online at the time, and I don't know, it seemed really cool to me. So I was excited to send you some of my other artists that I was working with at the time to see what we could set up.
Yeah, so I know, like, so the first, I don't remember what their name was, but like the first guest bailed on us last minute, and then I was like, oh man, she's like, the people she represents are just too important for us.
We're not
like we're gonna be screwed the next couple weeks, but then we had Felicity, then we had Action Adventure, two really, really awesome bands.
Yeah, really fun to talk
Felicity, to. we speak to pretty regularly, still, and like you working with you has been awesome, and you pick some really good fucking bands. So how much of that? So I mean, we work with a few different agencies, and when we get emails from certain people, we're kind of like, man, why do they get the stinkers? Like, we really like that person, but man, they get the stinkers. But do you get to like, you pick whoever you want, or like
how much of your decision making goes into
exactly
picking?
So there's a few different ways that we kind of end up working with the bands that we do, and part of it is definitely if there's a band that we like and are fans of, we can reach out to them on our end and just be like, hey, don't know what you're working on, or if you're already working with a publicist, but if you're not and you have stuff coming up, like, would love to talk to you about that, and kind of build our own roster that way and make sure that it is bands that we really like and are like cool and good to work with and like good people. So I have definitely been one of those people that like, especially over the last like few years or so, I make a huge effort to go out there and go after bands that I like. Because as a publicist, there really is nothing harder than writing a convincing pitch about a band that you're not a fan of.
Yeah. That's one thing I wanted to ask is because I know that, like, I mean, we're both in bands, and we've been doing this for a very long time. And I know that my band has used PR agents a number of times for different releases and different things, tours, anything. We're always trying to reach out and find people, and it's really hard to find kind of that. Oh man, we're like a family now. Like we're working together forever and ever and ever. But once you do, oh, it's awesome. It's the best. It's the coolest experience. So how has it been? Because I know like we can just go to a PR company, we can find out what they charge, and we can pay them, and they can take whatever bio I already wrote, and they can copy paste it onto something, and they can send it out to people. And they can send it out to more people than I could.
Right.
But they're not really giving me, I don't know whether they like me or not. I don't know whether there's a pitch or not. I don't know. I don't know what's going into it. How do you, what advice do you have for bands that are looking for PR, and like how to pick somebody that they know they're going to like vibe with, and how important is that to find somebody that like you get along with, versus maybe it's okay to just find somebody and throw the money out and get some PR?
I do think it's super important to find a publicist that you vibe with, and somebody that is going to champion your band and help tell your story the way that you want it told. So I think if you're looking for a publicist and you're kind of reaching out to some different people, one of the most important things you can do is to get on a call or like a Zoom at some point and just kind of talk to them about the music and like what you're looking for out of your campaign, and just kind of seeing like how your personalities mesh, and kind of figuring out if they actually are a fan of your band. Because I mean, first and foremost, that's what you want your publicist to be, is a fan.
Right.
They're supposed to be your biggest fan. So like for those of you who don't know what PR is, Becky, can you just give like real quick Cliff Notes version? What is PR?
So my go-to explanation is that I send a lot of emails.
Right.
I can send upwards of like 300 emails a day. But when you kind of break it down, I am, writing press releases for bands and sending those out to different publications when there's new music or a tour announced or an album or something along those lines. And I'm pitching for people to interview the band, review the new music, come out to shows and take photos or review the show, set up previews of the shows, and just kind of trying to get as many people posting and writing about the artist as possible.
Yeah, that's definitely like, man, good content and good things written about the things that you put out is super hard. Like something that I've we've realized, and even going through like a PR campaign and stuff like that, is it's super hard getting that stuff done. And just being in bands, I feel like we're kind of used to the rejection and stuff. But like, how do you deal with, like, how many bands are you dealing with right now?
It's hard to say because our roster does kind of change. Like when we bring clients in, they're on board for a certain amount of time.
Right.
So it can be kind of different from week to week. I think about 15 at the moment.
So you're basically there. I mean, the DIYs, you're throwing shit out there. You're throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks. She's actually doing that for you and 14 other bands.
Right. So working her ass off.
And she's working her ass off. Yeah. So like all of the things that you get back, either the no or the no replies, she's dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important, because she's got those contacts. She's got the contacts that you want to, the eyes that you want to put those pitches in front of.
Yeah, I think bands don't realize sometimes how important PR can be and how much it can really help what you're doing. It's so hard these days to break through like the social media algorithm noise and the I'm putting a new record out, well, so is 100,000 other people. New Music Friday is everything noise. And it's hard to have the attitude of like, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to, like, sometimes you'll end up spending more money than you ever would hiring a good PR person on doing all your Facebook ads and doing all your Instagram ads and doing all that stuff. And you're not even knowing where really to place them. It's a real trial and error thing. And sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you pick the right thing. But I know far too many musicians that have, like, we all lose money anyway. It's the music business. If you're in this to make money, or you've made mistakes in your life, then you should probably choose other paths. You do this because you have to do it, and anybody that's out there that can help you do it is an awesome asset. And when you find
huge
somebody
resource
that's willing and able to work for you and put in some extra hours for you and do that,
believes in it.
It's so worth it, and it's so awesome. It can really make a big difference. I know for a fact that, one of the main reasons that we've had a few successful, quote, releases and things like that is because we used a PR agent, and that immediately got us a radio airplay. It immediately got us on college stations. It immediately got us interviews. It got us write-ups and things, and it really did. But again, I will stress picking the right one is super important. So I'm glad that you said to get on a call and talk to the person, because it's so important. You can't just look something up online and be like, that's the one, and then pick the cheapest one and then go for it. You don't do that with tattoo artists. You end up with something shitty. So same kind of thing with PR, I think. So I will say that Big Picture's been awesome to work with and has a really great roster of bands that we've been able to talk to. And Becky's been super awesome for us to work with too. So any bands that are out there that are working on something and have stuff coming up,
any good bands,
don't hesitate to look her up and look them up. And sorry to give you more work.
Okay, I welcome it.
Overwhelming.
I honestly, I prefer being busy to having like a slower roster. Just because it kind of forces me to be more organized and more on top of like what I have coming up. Like I tend to be a pretty organized person anyway. But when I have a lot of things going on, I am more like even more on top of things.
Gotcha. How did you find yourself doing this? Like, what brought you to deciding that, like, hey, I'm going to do PR for music? Or like, where did you start? Did you start, like, were you booking bands? Were you in a band? Were you interviewing? What was your kind of way into the music world?
So I originally was a journalist. I was always a writer, and I started writing for my high school paper when I was like a freshman, sophomore, and reviewing albums as they came out. And then I went to a couple of shows, and I realized that like music was what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to be a part of. I am not a musician. I do not have the talent for it. But I figured the industry side of things, like you don't necessarily need to be a musician to work in the music industry. When I got to college, I started looking around for internships, and I had a friend who was interning at Big Picture at the time, and she put me in touch with the team. And I did my first internship with Big Picture, and I realized that was like a really great way to combine my love of music and my love of writing. In a way that wasn't like reviewing things, because with reviewing things, there's always that chance that you're not going to like something. And I never want to be that person who's writing something negative about a band, because like no matter what, even if it's not for me, like they still put so much work into whatever it is they're releasing. So I never wanted to be that person. Whereas PR, you literally just get to be a hype person for your artists. So I interned at Big Picture for my last 2 years of college. And when I graduated, a junior publicist position opened up, and I've just been here ever since.
So that's almost been like, what, 10 years, right?
It was literally 10 years last week since I started interning at Big Picture, and I've been full-time for 8 years.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
That's so awesome. Imagine like leaving college and finding a career for 10 years in music. That's pretty fucking cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I found a really long career. I had like 15 years under my belt.
Right.
It was awful. I quit. It was awful. It was really bad.
And you stayed for 15 years?
Yeah.
I've been in the music business for 20 years. I haven't made any money.
No, neither have I. No, but one thing I do want to ask is, so like you talk about wanting to stay busy and wanting to stay active and stuff like that, and you guys like you deal with some pretty big artists, like little bands like Papa Roach,
right.
The Used, Simple Plan, Sum 41, like little guys,
Yeah,
I love The Used.
Which bands keep you more busy though? Because I feel like those guys, especially during the pandemic, they didn't really have a lot going on.
Bands,
or is it the smaller bands that keep you more busy, trying to create growth and awareness?
I think it's kind of a toss-up depending on the day. So with the bigger bands, there's definitely a lot more organic coverage and people reaching out to us saying they want to cover things or set up interviews or reviews or whatever. So it is a lot of fielding interviews or fielding requests from people as they come in. So it's a lot of emails on that front, and that can be pretty time consuming. But with smaller bands, it is a lot more actively pitching things and trying to get people just to listen to it and pay attention. So it really just kind of depends on the day and like what anybody has going on at any given moment. Each has its own challenges.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, you get a band that's been established and, for however many years, they got a new record coming out. They changed their sound.
Right.
Well, now you've got an uphill battle. So like
you've got to help them. You got out there that their sound has changed.
Right. Their sound has changed, but it's like it's a proper evolution of the band, whatever. But like, yeah, I that's pretty cool though. Like I didn't even think about it when you said it. It's like okay, well, it's either I'm getting pitched or I'm pitching them. I never really thought about that particular aspect though. That's really cool.
Are you able to or I know you're able to, how easy is it for you to turn off the fan when you're working with somebody that like you're a huge fan of their music? Like, do you have those moments in the back of your head where you're like, holy shit? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And, I kind of hope those moments never go away. Like, I mean, obviously I'm able to kind of maintain my composure and be professional in any given situation, but I always have those moments in the back of my head, and I kind of hope they never go away because that's what keeps me feeling grateful for what I get to do. Like I work with Simple Plan, I work with Bayside, I've worked with the Early November and Senses Fail, and all of these bands that I literally grew up listening to.
Right.
And getting to work with them is just one of the coolest things because I truly never thought that I would get that opportunity. All of these bands who are established, a lot of times they keep the same team for 10, 15 years, and you never think that you'll get that chance. And then you do. And it's like, okay, well, now's the time to prove myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, so you've got a Bayside tattoo. Yes, and I've got a Day to Remember tattoo. So like,
you also have
my
a couple
wife,
other bands tattooed.
Yeah, I do. I do have other bands too. I have Chili Peppers one. Yep. I have a Breaking Benjamin
you have
one.
A Breaking Benjamin tattoo.
I do have.
You got real quiet as you said that too.
What?
Yeah. Own it, man.
You know what? I was talking to Jen about it today. Listen, Breaking Benjamin was great until they started to suck.
We don't say they sucked until they put something out that you weren't as big of a fan of.
Yeah. They sucked.
That's all.
That's why I'll never be a good reviewer. That's why we did this BIMP blog, and we were like, hey, send some stuff our way, and like we got a bunch of people sending stuff, and like a lot of it is bad, and like I still got to do the Matstagram. I still have to do the review on that. I have to write that up. I actually liked it.
That was a great record.
That's really cool. Yeah. But like, we got a lot of stuff that's. I'm not gonna write about it. I gotta figure that out. What was I saying? Oh yeah, no. So
the Bayside
tattoo.
Like
okay, so you had the Bayside tattoo and stuff like that. You get to work with them.
Yeah.
At what point do you even bring that up? Do you say like,
I have a tattoo. Hey, I'm a fan.
I'm a big fan.
You
can trust me like that. Or like, do you bring that up in the beginning? Do you bring like, where do you bring that? This is very much the like, okay, single father, single mother getting into a new relationship and go, hey, I got a kid. Right? Is it kind of like that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm asking her. I'm not asking you.
Okay.
I think it might be a little different. But so with Bayside specifically, the first campaign we worked with them on, I was still an assistant at the time, and I got to be a little involved, but it wasn't as hands-on. And then they went to a different PR agency we did the Colt White edition, and then there was Vacancy came after that, and we didn't work on Vacancy. And then when they did the Walking Wounded 10-year tour, they wanted somebody to do tour press. So that's where I really got to jump in and be hands-on and kind of have that be my client. And the Bayside tattoo that I have has lyrics from Head on a Plate, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. So when we did a press day around their New York show of that, I kind of brought it up then. I was like, it really meant a lot to me to be able to work on a tour for that album. And that album has been such a formative part of who I am. So I brought that up pretty early on into working with them. I guess it's kind of just about timing and how you do it. As long as you're not like weird about it. And the fact that I was able to put together so much great coverage for the tour and this great press day where we went to the Rolling Stone office, like I'd already kind of proven at that point, like I am a professional. I'm good at my job. I'm here for a reason. Not just like, oh, things didn't go great. And I was like, oh, by the way, I'm a big fan.
Right.
Right. If things hadn't gone well, I probably wouldn't have told them.
Probably don't do it then. Yeah.
Right.
But that's the only. I would think that a band would see that and be excited about it, because they'd be like, "This girl's going to rep for us. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so good." And they'd also be flattered. I mean, anybody that ever think of anybody that's ever told you that a lyric mattered to them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't have better compliments in my life than.
Well, you got your lyrics tattooed on people. So.
Yeah, which there's not a better compliment that I could ever think of. You know,
right?
So I can only imagine that being a thing that makes them kind of like bond with you a little bit and be like, "This is my girl. She's gonna help us. She's got our back. We're in. Cool." You know, and I think for being a PR person, and being like, I'm your advocate, I'm your rep, I'm your team. Like, I think that's a huge thing. I can only see that as being a positive thing.
Yeah, you want somebody who is excited to be a part of the team and to be a part of what you're doing, and who's gonna go out there and do the most that they can to make sure that you are getting the coverage you deserve.
So speaking of songs that mean something to you, do you remember the first song? Because anybody that gets into the music business in any way, shape, or form gets into the music business because music is breathing to them in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do you remember in your first experiences with music and really connecting with songs, do you have a memory of that first song that kind of hit you and was like, I'm not alone in the world, or somebody gets me, or this, holy shit, this is an important thing?
Yeah, I do. So I grew up listening to music, and I was an NSYNC fan and a Backstreet Boys fan, but the first time that I heard a song and I was like, holy shit, this is incredible, was the Ocean Avenue. When the music video came out for Ocean Avenue, I had just kind of started taking violin lessons, and I remember my instructor kind of saying oh, you should check this band out. They're pop punk, but they have a violinist. And the first time I heard that song, it all just kind of clicked. And that's what really got me into pop punk. And that's still the scene that I am the biggest fan of. That's what I'm most passionate about. And that's kind of what opened my eyes to that type of music.
Nice.
And they're getting back together. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Absolutely cried when they all started posting the teaser images because I never thought in a million years that we would get even a one-off reunion set from them.
That's a pretty special.
Yeah. I hot take. Here we are. Yeah. Hot take. I've done a few of them tonight on the episode prior. I am more excited about a Yellow Card reunion than I am about My Chemical Romance.
Same.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay.
Just saying. And My Chemical Romance already put a song out. So
right.
More excited about Yellow Card.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about both. I would have to say for me personally, because My Chemical Romance hit me a little bit harder at that time of my life. I was a little more affected by that, and when Helena came out, I was like,
first record, the first
Jesus
major record,
yes. Was a big thing for me. But I am super excited about both.
Yes.
I'm excited about My Chem. They definitely did. Like I liked My Chem growing up and when they were still kind of like a thing originally, but they're not a band that I got super into.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just didn't listen to him as much. I'm more excited about Yellowcard. I'm excited about Midtown, who's playing with My Chem on a few shows.
Yeah.
Planning on going to that.
That's gonna be cool too. Yeah.
Midtown's from
Jersey.
the area as well. Yeah. From Jersey. Yeah. So
I saw them with SGT, I think it was back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will say
Maybe
this.
It wasn't with them, but
So we're from Long Island. We're in Long Island right now. I will drive to Starland Ballroom 10 times out of 10 to go see a show versus anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
I love Starland.
Yeah. People give it so much hate and I don't understand. I don't know. It's
such a fun venue.
It's my favorite venue. Grew up going to shows there. If there is a tour coming through that has a New York date, New Jersey date, I will almost always go to the Starland date instead. Just because I would rather be there, and I like driving to a show more than I like taking public transportation to one.
Yeah, that's a big deal too.
Although I think a sold out Starland, while cool to say, is not the best to experience because sometimes I feel like they pack it in way too much.
Yeah, they go over capacity a lot.
They do,
yeah.
but in the city they do too, also parking sucks, and also getting home sucks.
Public transit
and driving sucks, and it costs way more.
Public transit,
way more,
all the way.
Yeah, but yeah, I love Starland Ballroom. I've seen so many concerts there. Like people are always like, oh, what's your like favorite concert experiences, and like. It's always like I hate the city. I don't like Roseland. I don't like.
Tell me what you do like.
I love Starland.
There you go.
I love Starland.
There you go.
For sure.
Be a positive Polly. Not a negative Nancy.
Yeah.
Becky, do you remember your first show? What was the first show you ever went to?
I was just about 9 years old. My aunt and uncle took me and my cousins to see NSYNC at Prudential Center.
Nice. This episode of Bacon is My Podcast is brought to you by drinkwildbills.com and grillyourassoff.com. Use promo code BACON to get 10% off your entire order.
Yeah. Grilling season is never over, and you always want to quench your thirst, and why not do it with some craft-made beverages by Wild Bills.
The two work together pretty awesome.
Yeah. Agreed. So go ahead. Hit them up, check it out. It helps them, which are awesome companies, and it helps us.
It helps us, and it helps you.
And it helps you to
because you like
live a more flavorful life.
You like delicious things in your mouth.
Indeed. So do it now.
Do it.
Another place that I like better than MSG. What? Sorry, I love the Prudential Center too.
Yeah, I like it.
It's right over the bridge.
I've
been there a lot.
I'm about like 15 minutes from Prudential.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
That's awesome.
How many NSYNC shows?
Just one.
Just one?
Just one.
I would go see NSYNC. 100%.
I was like 9. I didn't go to shows by myself yet.
I would go now. I would totally go now.
I'd go now.
I would absolutely go now. I would go now, and I would be the weirdo with like this face and hair.
Do you remember when it was like the VMAs and
I'd be doing the dances in the back?
Reunion?
Yes.
And then it was literally just like a 2-minute like dance break of Justin, and they like brought the rest of the guys out, but it really wasn't a reunion. That was so disappointing.
Yeah, that was.
I think the closest thing they got to a reunion was Alexa Bliss and Ryan Cabrera's wedding. Just recently, they had it was Joey, Lance, and it's the guy that everybody forgets, Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, And they all got together. Lance apparently is too busy for that.
I waited on Lance when I worked in the city at Planet Hollywood.
No.
I was a waiter at Planet Hollywood in New York City, and I waited on Lance Bass. And at the time, I was not a fan.
Yeah.
Because at the time, like, I think it was like they knocked like Korn off of the number one selling record.
It was like TRL.
Right.
I can't believe you knocked him off.
It was like that. And I was like, man, Korn. And I remember like he was nice though. He was nice to me.
Lance is good. I meant JC, by the way. JC was too busy.
I told him I hope you got to go to space. I was like, I hope you get to go to space, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is JC doing that he's so busy to like not play a wedding? Like Justin Timberlake, he's got a lot of things going on. But JC,
he's a busy guy.
He's a busy dude.
JC, what is he doing? Any ideas? I don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know. I think
he's raising alpacas in Alaska.
That's a bad place to raise them.
That's why he's got to spend all his time there, because the weather doesn't allow for it.
It actually makes sense.
Yeah,
totally makes sense.
I said it online, so it's true.
So Becky, what we have to do right now is we have to actually pay some bills.
Yes.
The way we pay those bills is through a sponsor called Poddex. And what Poddex does is they create cards for budding podcasters and people who want to get into it, who just want to break the ice or don't have verbal diarrhea like we do.
Indeed.
And they make decks, and within each deck is 50 cards. Within each card is a question. And what we like to do is have our guest pick a deck, and then we'll pick a random question from it.
I love your explanation of this every time.
Yeah.
It's so long.
I've got it down.
It's so long, but it's so great.
I've got it down. So we've got the episode deck. We've got the interview deck 2. We've got what the heck would you rather? And then the brand spanking new MTV-esque branded what the fuck? And then
let's break that one open.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. You don't even want to know about the other one.
No hesitation.
I do have to say, how dare you?
How dare ooh. Now let's go with the MTV branded.
What the fuck?
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to...
All right, he's going to shuffle that. And while he shuffles that, I will just let everybody within the sound of our voices know you can go to poddex.com and check out all these decks and more. They have an app. They have swag. They have all kinds of good stuff. They answer emails. They're a cool company. If you decide you want to take anything home from poddex.com, use the promo code BACON.
Because everything's better with bacon.
And you'll get 10% off your entire order. And you'll help us keep this show free and keep us on.
Indeed.
So thank you for all of you who have done it. And now we're going to fan these out.
Fan these out like so.
Take the finger of power. We're going to go from my left to my right, your right to your left. And you tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Stopping right here. All right. Your question, Becky, is... what is the strangest skeleton that you've ever discovered in someone else's closet?
Oh.
What'd you find out about that person that was weird?
It's awesome that we've got a PR agent
that made you go,
that question.
What?
I don't know. That's a hard question to kind of think of an answer off the top of your head.
It's a little weird. Anything, and you don't have to tell us who it is or anything, but anything like something weird pop out and you're like, really? Them? They like this?
I'm sure there's something.
That's a thing.
It's the kind of thing where, like, whenever you put someone on the spot, all of the answers just go right out of your brain.
You know what? I teach guitar and vocals to kids, and every single time I bring one in, and I'm like, "What kind of music do you like? Tell me some songs." Songs don't exist anymore. They just disappear from existence. There are no songs. There's nothing anymore. They're just like, what's music? I'm
right.
Like, yep.
Like
Yep.
I work as I serve as our intern coordinator too, so I do a lot of interviews with potential interns, and we always like to ask like, who are some of your favorite artists? What bands do you listen to? And like half the time they're like, I listen to a little bit of everything, and then they can't think of a single thing to name. Because literally, like, you put someone on the spot and their brain just goes blank.
I agree 100%. That's why you keep them talking though, and then eventually something will pop in their head.
Yeah, not happening in this case.
Yeah, you don't have any friends that never told you that they only like the early Star Wars prequels. That's it. It's the only thing they like.
Nobody's ever said that.
Or any of your friends that totally hate the MCU.
Yeah,
would never go
that
see
one.
it.
I'm gonna call my boyfriend out on this. He doesn't like Marvel.
What?
He's a big comic book fan, and like he's really into all of that. He goes to Comic-Con every year, but he does not like Marvel. He thinks that like the MCU is awful.
Okay, is it because it strays too far from the comic book stories?
Yeah.
So
he doesn't like that.
He's a purist.
He's a purist.
He's looking at me. He's a purist. He doesn't like how it changes the storylines, and he also just like doesn't appreciate how a lot of people go around saying like, "Oh, I'm a big Marvel fan," and then they can only tell you things from the cinematic universe. They don't know the backstory, don't know the characters, where they actually come from.
There are definitely MCU fans, and then there are comic book fans, and then there are people that kind of like both and are in both worlds. But I will agree there are certain things, like Magneto is Wanda's dad.
He's especially angry about that. About the fact that they completely threw out the fact that Wanda is a mutant and like destroyed her whole backstory. There's no mention that she is Magneto's daughter.
But in fairness,
they couldn't.
They didn't own the rights to any of that, so they couldn't. So they had to do something. And imagine those movies without Scarlet Witch in it, because she's literally the most powerful being in the entire MCU.
And that's the other thing. He thinks that they completely messed up like her powers. Like she should have been able to destroy Thanos on her own.
Well, she could have. Yeah. She showed that she could have.
She could have, but
that was there.
She didn't.
She didn't. Yes, but she could have.
One of the things that I think about is like Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
You could not have the Living Tribunal in a movie without people going, a what?
Right.
Like if you had the Living Tribunal in a movie, people would just be like, okay, I'm out.
And that's it for me.
That's it for me. So I do think that the MCU definitely did streamline a lot of things, and I feel like Kevin Feige is a pretty good producer, and he kind of does it in the way that a producer would treat a song,
right?
You know, like because obviously there's source material, and there's people that want to see source material. And yeah, would I love to see certain things true to the source material? Yeah, of course I would. But the fact of the matter is that movies are a business. And in order to make money in a business, you've got to appeal to a larger group of people.
Yeah, they're not making money. They're not making movies just for the comic book fans. If they were, they wouldn't be spending so much on them.
Right.
Because they couldn't.
And to be fair, with the idea of a multiverse, this could just be another version of events taking place in a completely different universe.
And if we've seen, for those of us who have seen Multiverse of Madness, there are hints to that as a possibility. No spoilers. And I will say, just as someone who loves the comics and grew up on the comics, also loves the movies just because I love going to movies and seeing big cartoon movies. Oh my god, it's the best thing in the world. Like these are like my superheroes in movie form. It's the best. I get it, but if you go back far enough in the comics, oh man, if they fucked with and changed the powers of all those people too. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, the first Batman comics, he was using a gun. He had no problem shooting people. That wasn't till later.
Yeah.
Right. And now that's become a huge thing.
Big taboo
to the character. Whereas if they have people have like YouTube videos dedicated to counting how many people died from Batman in movies to show how bad the movie is because he killed people.
Right.
And I like that part of the story better for Batman, that he doesn't kill, that he has that line that he won't cross. I think it makes a better story. But that wasn't the story at the very beginning.
Right.
Someone had to change it. Scarlet Witch has been changed many times. The mutants have been changed many times. Spider-Man has been changed many times.
Mm-hmm.
We all live through one more day. There's so many of those things have been changed. So I have to kind of like put it up there and go, okay. I love having those conversations with the purists too, because I'm like, me too, man. Me too. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, but I also get to go see movies where Spider-Man's on screen and Captain Marvel's on screen. And
I did get him to go see Multiverse of Madness with me, much against his will. And he sulked the entire movie.
See, now that you gotta be a positive Polly, not a negative Nancy.
Right. Okay. Becky,
who's your MCU character, by the way?
What was that?
Who's your MCU character? Who do you identify with?
I don't know who I identify with, but I have always loved Tony Stark and Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, they're talking about how they're bringing Ironheart into the fray because they want to try and make a new Avengers or Young Avengers, whatever. Avengers. And I don't know. I now that you've broken open this like multiverse thing, let's just bring a new Tony Stark in, please.
Well, there were rumors that they were going to bring in Tom Cruise as Tony Stark for like the Illuminati, and then they ended up cutting all of that out.
He didn't see it.
Ooh.
He didn't see it. He didn't see it.
That's
okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. No, the Tom Cruise doesn't show up.
No. Tom Cruise doesn't show up. I you know what though? They ruined enough of that movie in the trailers that I know most of the things that happen.
You don't.
Oh, okay.
You don't. The trailers don't show you.
No, it was a very different movie than what I was expecting.
They really don't. It's very different.
Okay. Yeah. I need to see it.
You do need to see it.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
So that we can have conversations like this instead of me and Becky sitting here going.
Well, I can earmuff.
Nope,
if you guys
can't
want.
talk.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, just bring another guy in.
Did you come in through the comics, or did you come in through movies first, and did you go between? Like, how did you find your way to like Marvel?
I definitely through the movies. So I'm one of those people that is very much a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want to get into comics, but it's so overwhelming to me because there are so many different storylines and so many different characters, and they all intersect at some points and then not at others. And it's so confusing, and it just is so much to like try and go back into it.
As you get older, and as you like, as lives start to form and stuff like that. Like as a kid, I just like read comics like constantly.
Right.
But when you become older and you have jobs and things to do, graphic novels are the way to go because it's like it's pretty great because like they'll take specific parts of the specific story or specific story arc,
right,
and just put it all into one pop.
Yeah, the different comic issues will be in it and stuff like that. Yeah, that's definitely a good way to jump in.
I read the Civil War from front to back, every issue.
Right,
every issue, and then eventually I went and I got the Civil War graphic comic, and I was like, that said the same thing.
Right.
So it was like I think it was like 172 comics.
Yeah. It was a long one.
That Civil War was done in, and and I think it was like 200 pages that the actual Civil War was done on in the graphic novel version. So yeah, definitely pick those up because you can also like I know your boyfriend probably is like, yeah, well you're gonna miss this and you're not gonna miss much. Just grab. Go to a Borders, go to the graphic novel section, grab it, and then you'll blow his mind. I swear.
Okay.
Yeah.
it is overwhelming. I can definitely see that. I have a lot of friends that are like, I want to go back and read something, but it's like, where do I start and how many are there? And I got to go find this weird copy of New Mutants number 36 because if I don't, I've missed part of this storyline that I can't find now. And graphic novels is a great way to kind of get that too. Or I would say if there's a character that you specifically like, just dive into like that comic and just be like,
anywhere.
I'm into Tony Stark. I'm into Iron Man. There was, like, oh, cool. This thing of Iron Man that came out in the 90s was 35 comics, and that's it. And that's all they did. And that was beginning to end. I'll read that. And those are, you can do those even online. You can do them like on your iPad or something like that. I do them on planes. I was on the plane reading Daredevil when we were just traveling last week. Just because I was never super into Daredevil, and then I watched the show, and I was like, I love Daredevil, and then
he showed up.
So good. And then he showed up in No Way Home, and I was like, oh my god!
Yep. And they just announced this week they're gonna be putting one out,
which is excellent.
Which is maybe a less of a reboot than they originally said it was going to be.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Charlie Cox is great.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. So Becky, what we like to do with these interviews, especially with the musicians and stuff like that, like we'll sit here and we'll talk about the records and we'll talk about the songwriting process and the recording process, all of those things, right? But we want to know. We use bacon as a metaphor here.
Yes.
Bacon is the thing that makes your life better. Bacon is the thing that just makes things more tolerable and stuff like that. So, as in the life of a publicist, you send out lots of emails. You have a lot of screen time, for sure. What do you do to get away from that? What is the thing that makes your life better? Even though like what you love what you do, that's obvious. Right. Like off the bat. What do you do to get your mind off? Some
what
of
helps
that
you love it
sometimes?
more because you can get away from it.
Yeah.
I really love to bake. So I always like to tell people that if I wasn't working in music, I probably would have ended up in pastry school at some point. It's just something that I've always really enjoyed, and I love making things for other people. So whether it's like cakes or cupcakes or cookies or, experimenting with some new recipe, I just really love, like, baking is a science, and I really love
absolutely
how exact it is. And at the end of, a couple hours of hard work, you get something delicious that you can enjoy.
Do you have a go-to? Like, what's your specialty? Like, if someone says, can you bake something? And you're like, okay, I gotcha.
So I've kind of had to change it up a little bit because I ended up going gluten-free last year, which definitely affects, like, if you're a baker, a lot of what you make is flour-based, which is tough.
Yeah.
But
do the ratios change a lot? Like, does it mess up the science, or is it a 1-to-1?
It depends on what you're buying. There are like flour substitutes that you can buy where it is a 1-to-1, and it should come out pretty much the same, maybe a little bit denser, but overall, like, taste wise and everything, it should be the same. I have been trying to find a lot more recipes that just use straight up like almond flour instead of trying to use like a regular like all-purpose flour substitute, just a recipe that is based around like, oh, you're using almond flour for this. Which actually, like, French macarons are almond flour based anyway, and like gluten-free just as they are. So that's something that I've really started to enjoy making for people. And you can do so many different flavors and stuff, and they're just kind of fun to play around with.
That's interesting. I didn't
almond flour. Okay. See, the problem with, like, I worry about almonds now because we've talked about this in the past, like milk alternates. I'm all about the oat milk.
Yeah.
But my wife, Jen, she actually was all about the almond milk. She used to do like the shakes and everything like that. And eventually one day she's like, my tongue is like swelling. And as soon as she eliminated that from her diet, almond milk like messes with her. And that was a thing. So like now I'm worried about introducing that stuff in.
Is it a nut allergy or is it a... something else.
It's not a nut allergy because she'll eat peanut butter and jelly.
Well, I mean almonds.
Almonds, yeah.
Peanuts not a nut.
Yeah. But yeah, I've also heard of the what is it? The cricket flour. Have you dove into that at all?
Just the face was great. That was enough right there.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna pass on that.
The last macaroon that I was ever given that I ate had a scorpion on the top of it that I had to eat because of the way it was presented to me. And I was like, I guess I'm doing this. We're doing this right now. This is what's happening.
That's awful.
And it's crunchy. It's crunchy.
I have some macaroon beers in the fridge. We'll try those out.
I'm excited
well.
for that.
Definitely not gluten free. Definitely not. But okay, so Becky, we've taken a lot of your time.
Yes.
We definitely want you to let everybody know where they can find everything Big Picture, and just like let them know why publicity is so important, like why it's important to look into PR when you're in a band, when you're in a podcast, or when you're whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just let our consumers know.
Yeah, so Big Picture Media, we are online at bigpicturemediaonline.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Big Picture Media and Twitter at Big Picture NYC. We share all of the news about all of our clients. So if you're ever interested in seeing who we're working with, you can find all that info online. And PR, I think it's important because you, as an artist, you always want to find a team who is going to help champion you to not only listeners, but also to the press. And you want someone to kind of help you tell your story and help you break through the noise. And there's so much music out there that I think just having somebody who has the right connections is such a huge help. And that's really like what PR is all about, is like knowing which writers to reach out to or which podcasts to reach out to, because you know them well enough to be able to say, hey, I think you're really going to like this band. So yeah, if you're looking for a publicist, just make sure that you're finding somebody you vibe with, somebody who's a fan of your band and who kind of understands your voice and what you're looking for. And I don't know, PR can be so time consuming that especially as an independent artist, like if you can have somebody help you with all of that, it'll make your life so much easier.
That's the other thing, like as an independent band and what a lot of independent bands don't realize is like, hey guys, there's one of you doing that work.
Right.
Maybe two.
Right.
Maybe two. So if you can invest properly and get somebody else to be a cheerleader for you and to, instead of you having to unearth those specific contacts to get you press and get out to the world, it's worth its weight in gold.
Well, don't forget, if you're in a band, you know this, if you're trying to tell somebody that they should spend their time and give a chance to a band to listen to, the worst thing you can let them know is that you are in that band.
Yeah.
they immediately have zero interest because they just think you're trying to sell them you. Yeah. And if you can ever have somebody else, and that's why that's why us as a podcast and us as musicians and everything and everybody that's listening that's kind of stuck with us this whole time. That's why we're always saying things like, please share it, please spread the word, please do this, because that helps other people actually pay attention and actually listen so much more than anything that we could say or do ever. Yeah. And if you can find somebody to help your band that's going to do that for you and not be you, if they can hear it from somebody and then go online and find that band and not see that same person in a promo picture, they're going to take it more seriously. It's not fair. It's annoying. Yeah. And it sucks, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's there. So it's so worth it. Just from experience, it's so worth it. It makes things so much easier. And I also want to say, we're not only talking to people, we have a lot of people that listen to the show that are in bands, but we also have, I would say, everybody that listens to the show is a fan of music.
Right.
Right. So if you're a fan of music and you feel like you do this for bands already, and you're someone that feels like that's just heard us talking to Becky and is like, oh my God, this is something I would love to do. This is something I could maybe see myself get into, then like look into it. Becky, are there any resources you would like push people to that like want to learn about what it is to be in PR?
I think one of the best things you can do is to get out there and intern. That's kind of like, I didn't know what PR was before I started interning at Big Picture. And then like the longer I was there, the more I realized like, hey, this is what I want to do. So I think going out there and trying to find internships is a great way to kind of get started, kind of learn what PR is and what it entails and like what the day-to-day looks like. On that note, if there is ever anybody who's interested in interning with us, we do remote internships. And we, you know, I'm always happy to do an interview or sit down with someone and just kind of like walk them through what our jobs are.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, if anybody ever wants to intern at Big Picture, just let me know.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure and put that out there too, because I know so many people that like you said at the very beginning of this whole thing, you were like, you said, I'm not a musician, but I love music and I knew I wanted to be a part of this world. And I can't tell you how much I hear that from people that come to shows and everything. Like, oh my God, I love coming to shows.
And they champion bands.
And I don't play anything, but I really, you know, wish I could do this or do that. And it's like, hey, maybe you can, you know, like maybe you can channel that passion. And anytime you're working or doing something with your life where you can channel a passion, that's
totally cool.
You're winning everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe check it out.
Yeah. So just real quick, for anybody who has listened to our show and laughed with, and then checked out the bands Felicity, Glacier Veins, Deer Spring, Telltale, Stack Like Pancakes, Action Adventure. Thank this woman right here, because she was the one who introduced us to them, and therefore you are now listening to them. And Becky, thank you so much for giving us a shot when you know, it's a podcast with bacon in the title, and you're like, what? Is this good? Is this going to happen? Okay. Well, but yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for giving us a shot and you know, introducing us to some awesome bands, but also like introducing our listeners to some really awesome bands. And
you make us look cooler all the time because you make us look like we knew about these great bands.
Well, it is truly my pleasure. I appreciate everything that you guys do for our artists. Everybody always walks away saying what a great interview it was and how much fun they had. So I appreciate.
We let them drink. That's why.
I appreciate you guys taking care of our bands.
Of course, always. So it is test time. So what is the one question?
Yeah. Do you remember the most important question that you could ever ask yourself any day, that you should ask yourself every day?
Always.
Do you remember?
What's your bacon?
What's your bacon?
Yes!
Damn it.
There's enough of it. Yes. Now.
Shit!
Oh! I got you so good. Fucker.
So that was fun.
Yeah, she's great. We got to talk a little bit of MCU, which is probably not something that she had on her
wasn't on her agenda.
Things that I'm going to do in 2022. Right. Is be on a podcast and talk MCU. But yeah,
we found out that her boyfriend is he's
purist.
anti-MCU. He's a purist.
I think we should probably have him on.
Maybe we should at least have a conversation with him.
I think that's a good
right?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool actually.
Because I think he's right, but he's also wrong.
Right. No, I get it, for all the right and wrong reasons.
Exactly.
I understand.
Totally.
So Jimsy, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me, Jimmy G's Shoes, on all the socials. You can find my band Craving Strange at cravingstrange.net, where you can find all of our releases and all of our connections and all of our ways to hear and see and find us. Strangerhood TV is where we have videos and where you can also find Bacon Is My Podcast in visual form. If you want to check us out, see what we look like, apologies in advance, and yeah, check us out there.
Indeed.
Where can they find you, my friend? Mein Freund? in German.
Me personally, you can find me at Me My Own Self Mike, where you can find all things my awesome family, my son, my daughter, my wifey, who is also a great camera person.
You'll probably see her a few times.
At Me My Own Self Mike. I also talk about my band at Something Heavy Music on all the socials, but you can find us on Spotify's Something Heavy. And also, I post a lot about Bacon Is My Podcast,
Indeed.
which you can find on all the socials at Bacon Is My Pod, and you can also find us at baconismypodcast.com, where you can find our sponsors, you can find swag, you can find a blog, and you can also find music that we do together.
We have created things
together. Bacon Is My Passion on all the Spotify's, Apple Musics, Amazon Musics, and that kind of thing. So definitely check that all out. Jimsy,
well, don't forget,
there's one more thing.
You can also find a link to our Patreon.
Indeed.
If you guys want to help out the show, and thank you to everyone who is our patron. We appreciate the ever-loving shit out of you. You guys keep this thing running. You really, really, really do. The more listeners we get, the more opportunities we get, the more sponsors we attract, all that kind of stuff. That keeps the show free. That keeps us able to keep the lights on here at the Danger Room. And it just helps everything. And it doesn't really take much from you guys. Just a review or a thumbs up or a link or any of that. And if you wanted to do more, jump on Patreon and check us out. Check out all the stuff we have on there. We have so much more than just Bacon Is My Podcast. We have a cooking show. We have a tasting, eating horrible things show. We bring guests on. We do live music. We do all of our music in general. There's so much on there, and there's going to be so much more. We're always kind of trying to think of new ways to do that. So join the BIMP squad. Join the crew. Thank you guys that are already there helping us out. You really, really make a huge difference. We can't even tell you. And
much love.
Thank you to everybody who's listening.
Speaking of cooking,
yeah,
there's some pizza on the grill.
I smell it.
Yeah,
so we should take care of that now.
Without further ado,
no more ados.
Please make sure you always ask yourself one super important question. You tell them. I gotta go.
Pizza's on the grill. What's your bacon?